What to do when everything goes wrong? The principle of chaos. Have you ever had one of those days or weeks where everything that could go wrong does? You wake up late, miss the bus, get to work, and realize you forgot to send an important report. At home, the faucet breaks and your phone dies right in the middle of an important call. It feels like the universe is testing you. At moments like these, it's hard not to think, why is this happening to me? Is the universe trying to bring me down? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? It feels like we're trapped in a string of bad events, where the more we try to fix things, the worse they get. This is where Murphy's Law comes into play. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. At first, we laugh at it like it's a joke. But when life catches you in a streak of bad luck, that phrase takes on a much heavier meaning. And you know what? These moments happen more often than we like to admit. Everyone has been there, those times when you feel like you're struggling to keep your head above water, only for the waves to keep rising faster. No matter how hard you try, things seem to slip out of your control. Why does everything fall apart? That's usually the first question that comes to mind. Shouldn't life be fairer? The hard truth is, no, it shouldn't. Life doesn't follow our expectations, nor does it always give us what we want. And this is where we need to change how we see things. Chaos is part of the process. It's not a sign of defeat, it's a test. Just like the tides ebb and flow, life moves in cycles. Some moments are peaceful, others turbulent. It's not the universe plotting against us, but a reminder that we're alive. Imagine if everything were stable and predictable all the time. What would be left to learn? How would we develop strength, patience, and resilience? So what do you do when chaos shows up? Many people try to resist it. They try to control everything, holding on to each loose thread in their lives out of fear it will all unravel. But here's the secret. It's not about resisting chaos, it's about learning to flow with it. It's like paddling through a raging river. You can't stop the current, but you can learn to use its force to your advantage. This is the hidden beauty of Murphy's Law. When everything seems to be going wrong, it doesn't mean you've failed. It means you've been presented with a new challenge. The universe is reminding you that life is a dynamic game, not a perfect script. And every time you face difficulty, it's a chance to reinvent yourself and grow. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing." And he was right. Life demands that we adapt and get back up after every fall. Every obstacle is an opportunity disguised as a problem. And every situation that spins out of control begs the question, will you complain about it, or will you learn from it? Even when you prepare, things won't always go as planned. But that's okay, because chaos isn't the end, it's just part of the journey. Accepting this is what allows us to find calm and clarity, even when the world seems to be falling apart. So, what now? Will you give in to despair, or will you make chaos your ally? The choice is yours. You can see these difficult moments as enemies, or as tough teachers here to show you how to be stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Remember, no matter how many times the universe tests you, you always have a choice. It might be hard to see it in the middle of a storm, but every mistake, every failure, and every setback carries valuable lessons. Chaos is the beginning of transformation. It pushes you out of your comfort zone and opens the way for growth. And if you're going through a phase where everything seems to be going wrong, I have important news for you. This isn't the end. It's just a new chapter. Chaos may be messing things up right now, but when the dust settles, you'll see that each misplaced piece can be rearranged in a way that aligns better with who you are becoming. So tell me, will you keep fighting the waves, or will you learn to surf them? As you reflect on how to handle things when life feels out of control, an intriguing question arises. Why is chaos such a constant in life? Is there something deeper behind these moments of disorder? What's really happening when things seem to fall apart around us? This is where Murphy's Law steps in. It's not just a matter of coincidence or bad luck. It hints at something fundamental about how the world works. Let's go a step further and explore how this mysterious law can teach us to navigate life's unpredictability. You've heard of Murphy's Law, right? The one that says, if anything can go wrong, it will. For many, it sounds like a joke, something we casually mention to laugh off moments when life spins out of control. But in truth, this law carries a much deeper meaning. Chaos, my friends, is inevitable. And Murphy's Law isn't here to discourage us, but to remind us of something essential. We can't control everything. Life is full of variables beyond our ability to predict or command. The more we try to control every detail, the greater our frustration when things go wrong. Here's an interesting example. Think about the movie Interstellar. It puts us face to face with the reality that, despite all human knowledge, the unpredictability of the universe is immense. The characters try to control time, space, and the laws of physics. But in the end, they must learn to accept chaos as part of their journey. Murphy's Law plays a key role in the movie, and it's no coincidence. Science fiction reminds us that life, like the universe, is full of uncertainties. But this doesn't mean we're destined to fail, quite the opposite. Murphy's Law invites us to accept reality as it is, and reality is chaotic. From the small, everyday mishaps, like losing your car keys when you're already late, to life's major crises, chaos is part of the human experience. But here's the key. Chaos isn't our enemy. It's not here to break us, but to help us grow. Think about the hardest moments in your life. Weren't they the ones that taught you the most valuable lessons? Wasn't it in the midst of chaos that you discovered strength you didn't know you had? Chaos is the creative force that shapes our existence. It pushes us beyond our comfort zones, forces us to rethink our strategies, and makes us more creative and resilient. Just like in Interstellar, where chaos leads the characters to find new ways to survive and evolve, we too are shaped by the storms we face. I know it's uncomfortable to embrace this idea. After all, we're wired to seek order, control, and stability. We want things to go exactly as planned. But the truth is, life doesn't follow our plans. It follows the natural flow of the universe. And chaos is part of that flow. So instead of fighting it, why not learn to navigate it? Chaos might seem frightening, but it's also where great transformations begin. And if there's one thing Murphy's Law teaches us, it's that every unexpected twist in life is an opportunity to grow, adapt, and reinvent ourselves. Just like planets collide in space to form new stars, the chaos in your life could be the starting point for something far greater than you ever imagined. It all depends on how you choose to respond when things spiral out of control. So now, think with me. What will you do the next time Murphy's Law reminds you that chaos is always lurking? Now that we understand chaos is not our enemy, what comes next? If chaos is inevitable and in some cases necessary, why do we still cling to the idea of controlling everything? What makes us believe that with enough effort we can avoid the unexpected? And more importantly, what happens when this illusion of control falls apart? Let's dive deeper into something profound, the illusion of control, and what happens when we are forced to accept that life doesn't always follow the script we wrote. We love the idea of having control over our lives, don't we? We make plans, set goals, follow carefully organized routines, all in an attempt to keep things from going off track. But what if I told you that this is just an illusion? The truth is, no matter how hard we try, there will always be factors beyond our reach, unforeseen events that turn everything upside down without warning. How many times have you tried to control every detail of a project, a relationship, or a phase in your life, only to watch things unfold differently than you imagined? Charlie Chaplin once said, "From chaos, stars are born." And he was right. It's in the midst of chaos, when our expectations are shattered and our plans fall apart, that great transformations happen. But first, we must accept that control is an illusion. These moments of disorder, however difficult they may seem, humble us in the face of the unknown. They remind us that no matter how smart, disciplined, or careful we are, we can't control everything. And you know what? This realization doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can actually be liberating. When we let go of the reins and stop trying to control every little detail, something amazing happens. Life starts to flow more smoothly, like a river finding its way, even if it's not the most direct path. And that's when we realize that things don't have to go exactly as planned to turn out well. Accepting chaos takes courage. It's about letting go of the need for predictability and embracing the fact that sometimes life takes us down paths we didn't plan, paths that might surprise us in unexpected ways. And here's the best part. When we stop fighting what we can't control, we find strength in flexibility and wisdom in uncertainty. Think about it. How many times has something that went wrong led you to an opportunity you never would have imagined? It's often in the unexpected that we discover our greatest achievements and lessons. Those moments when everything seemed to collapse might actually turn out to be the first steps towards something much greater than you could have planned on your own. Life has a strange way of surprising us, and while we try to control our destiny, life is constantly showing us that real power isn't in predicting everything, but in learning how to navigate the unpredictable. So perhaps the most important question isn't, how can I control everything, but rather, how can I learn to trust the process? Trust that even when everything seems out of control, you will be able to adapt, grow, and find meaning in the circumstances. Remember, control is an illusion, but your ability to reinvent yourself is real. And sometimes it's only when we let go of control that we discover life is far more beautiful when we allow it to surprise us. Now, I ask you, what would you do if you stopped trying to control everything and simply trusted the flow of life? Now that we understand we can't control everything, another question arises. If chaos is inevitable and control is an illusion, why do we insist on making plans and creating expectations? The answer is simple. We need to believe things will happen the way we want. But the real challenge is, what happens when they don't? This brings us to the next step, how we deal with the frustration of unmet expectations. We can't avoid it. Setting expectations is part of being human. From a young age, we learn to imagine the future and build scenarios in our minds about how things should be. We make plans, visualize that dream job, hope for the promotion, and imagine the perfect relationship. But what happens when reality doesn't match what we envisioned? What do we do when life's waves wash away the sandcastles we've built? The truth is, frustration arises from the gap between what we imagined and what actually happens. The bigger our expectations, the harder the fall when things don't go as planned. Have you felt that before? That bitter feeling of disillusionment, like the rug was pulled from under your feet? This is where a powerful quote from philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre comes into play. Life begins on the other side of despair. It sounds harsh, but Sartre is telling us something essential. Frustration can be the starting point for something new. These moments of disappointment are, in fact, invitations for rebirth. When everything goes wrong, we have the chance to reassess, adjust our course, and discover new paths. The problem isn't in creating expectations. That's natural. The problem lies in clinging to them as if they were absolute truths. When we believe life must follow the exact script we wrote, we open the door to suffering. Because the truth is, life rarely goes according to plan. And that's okay. Frustration isn't the end of the road. It's merely a transition, a signal that something needs to be reconsidered. Maybe what you expected wasn't really what you needed. Maybe letting go of that expectation will lead you to something much better, something you never would have imagined if things had gone the way you wanted. And here's the interesting part. Frustration teaches us humility. It reminds us that we don't have all the answers and that sometimes we need to trust that life knows what it's doing, even if we don't understand it at the moment. So when everything seems to go wrong, take a deep breath. Step back and look at the situation from a different angle. Ask yourself, am I suffering because reality is difficult or because my expectations were unrealistic? This reflection can be freeing because in the end, it's not about avoiding frustration. It's about learning to deal with it more wisely. Frustration doesn't have to be a burden. It can be an opportunity for growth. A reminder that life is broader and more unpredictable than any expectation we can create. So why not welcome frustration as an ally? Instead of resisting it, why not embrace it as part of the process? Because on the other side of that feeling, something new begins. Life starts after despair, and every disappointment is a chance to reinvent yourself, to rise, and to create new expectations, but this time with less attachment and more lightness. Now tell me, what can you do today to turn your frustration into a fresh start? So now you know, not everything will go as planned. Sometimes what hurts us the most isn't reality itself, but the weight of unfulfilled expectations. In the end, frustrations are inevitable. But this raises an important question. If we can't control the future or avoid disappointment, what's left for us? The answer is simple, yet powerful: preparation and resilience. And that's what we're going to explore now. How to prepare without deluding ourselves, and most importantly, how to cultivate resilience to face chaos with courage. You've probably heard the saying, success depends on good preparation. And it's true, but only up to a point. Preparation is essential, of course. Training, studying, planning, all these things increase our chances of success. But here's a hard truth: even the most prepared person isn't immune to failure. No matter how much effort we put in, unforeseen events will always happen. And this is where resilience comes in, the ability to stay standing even when the world seems determined to knock you down. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "The art of living resembles wrestling more than dancing." And he was right. Life isn't a choreographed show where every step is predictable. It's more like a fight, full of unexpected blows and constant challenges. And here's another truth: failure is part of the process. No matter how well prepared you are, there will be times when things slip out of your control, and that's okay. Failure isn't the end, it's just part of the path. Every fall and every obstacle is an opportunity to learn something new, to grow stronger, and to come back better prepared for the next challenge. Resilience is the key. It's not just about enduring difficulties. It's about learning from them and moving forward stronger and wiser. Just like a fighter who falls and gets back up, you too need to develop the ability to rise again. Preparation is important, but what truly makes the difference is how you respond when things fall apart. Will you give up at the first sign of trouble? Or will you stand up and try again with even more determination? This is where resilience reveals its true strength. So, the next time failure knocks on your door, remember, you don't need to succeed every time to win. What matters is that you keep trying, keep learning, and keep moving. Every mistake is another step on your journey, and every failure is an opportunity for growth. Resilience isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about lifting your head and continuing forward, even when everything seems lost. Because in the end, victory doesn't belong to the strongest. It belongs to those who refuse to give up. Prepare as much as you can. Train, plan, and give your best. But at the same time, be ready to accept that things won't always go as planned. And that's okay. True strength isn't in avoiding failure. It's in knowing how to deal with it and keep going. Now tell me, what can you do today to cultivate your resilience? How can you prepare not just for the best, but also for the worst? So we know that preparation and resilience are essential. But even with all our strength and persistence, there are moments when we simply have no control over what happens. This is where a fundamental choice arises. Will we fight against the inevitable, wasting energy on resistance? Or will we learn to accept reality as it is and flow with it? This brings us to a powerful concept: acceptance. But we're not talking about giving up or settling. We're talking about finding freedom by letting go of what we cannot change, accepting life as it is. It can sound like weakness, can't it? After all, we're often told to fight to the end, to never give up, to overcome every obstacle. And yes, we need to be strong and persistent, but there's a difference between fighting challenges and resisting reality. And that difference is everything. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It's not a sign of weakness or resignation. On the contrary, acceptance is an act of courage. It's about recognizing that some things are beyond our control and choosing not to waste energy trying to change them. Buddhism teaches us that resisting what is only brings suffering. When we fight against reality, we create an internal battle that exhausts us. Every time we wish things were different than they are, we create unnecessary tension. And that tension keeps us from seeing solutions, finding peace, and making clear decisions. But when we accept life as it is, with all its imperfections, challenges, and difficult moments, something magical happens. Resistance dissolves. The energy once spent fighting the inevitable can now be used to find creative solutions, stay calm, and act with wisdom. Think of a river. If you swim against the current, you'll tire quickly and might never reach your destination. But if you learn to swim with the flow, the journey becomes lighter. Acceptance is like that flow. It doesn't mean you let life carry you passively. It means you choose to use the current to your advantage. True transformation begins when we stop fighting the present moment and learn to embrace it. This doesn't mean you'll never act to change a difficult situation. Acceptance is the first step toward change. Only when we accept what is can we see things clearly and make the best decisions. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them." And he was right. When we change our perspective and accept reality, it stops being our enemy. We begin to see challenges as teachers guiding us in the art of resilience and balance. Acceptance isn't surrender. It's an opening to transformation. When you accept the present moment exactly as it is, you set yourself free. Your mind calms, your heart finds peace, and you gain a new kind of power, the power to act with wisdom and serenity. Now think, what would happen if you stopped fighting what you cannot change? How would your life look if you chose to accept the present moment exactly as it is? Perhaps in that act of acceptance, you'd discover a new path, a path that was hidden by resistance. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, take a deep breath. Remember, acceptance isn't giving up. It's releasing the tension, creating space for new possibilities, and allowing life to show you the next step. Because in the end, change doesn't come through force. It happens when we learn to flow with the rhythm of life, finding harmony even in chaos. Now tell me, what do you need to accept today to find peace and move forward? So accepting reality as it is gives us freedom, but there's something even more powerful, the way we perceive that reality. The truth is that it's not circumstances themselves that defeat us, but the way we interpret them. And this is exactly where our perspective can transform adversities into opportunities. Now let's explore how shifting the way we view our challenges can be the key to overcoming them with greater wisdom and inner strength. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "It's not things that upset us, but our view of them." This phrase is powerful because it reveals a deep truth. How you perceive challenges makes all the difference. We all face adversity, it's inevitable, but the true impact of those difficulties doesn't depend on what happens to you, but on the narrative you build around them. Think about it. The same obstacle can be seen as an unbearable burden or as an opportunity for growth. The choice is yours. Adversity is like a strict teacher. It doesn't go easy on you, doesn't smile, and doesn't offer kindness. It tests you without warning and demands your best, often leaving you breathless. But as harsh as these teachers are, they offer valuable lessons. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to develop resilience, strengthen your character, and discover inner resources you didn't even know you had. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Changing the way you see a challenge takes effort. When you're caught in the middle of a storm, your natural reaction might be despair, frustration, or the urge to give up. And this is where the power of perspective comes into play. Imagine you're facing a problem that feels enormous, insurmountable. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How is this difficulty shaping me? This simple shift in perspective transforms an obstacle into an opportunity for growth. What once felt like a blow from fate now reveals itself as a crucial step in your personal evolution. Resilience is built through adversity. It's not when life is easy that we become stronger. It's when we face chaos and choose to keep going. Every time you look at a problem and decide to learn from it, you move closer to the person you are meant to become. And here's the most inspiring part. You always have the power to choose your perspective. You may not control what happens around you, but you can decide how you will respond. You can turn failure into a lesson, loss into a fresh start, and pain into wisdom. In this way, adversity becomes an ally, not an enemy. It forces you out of your comfort zone, pushes you toward change, and teaches you to become stronger, more patient, and wiser. Every obstacle you overcome is an inner victory, a reminder that you are stronger than you once thought. So the next time life tests you, make a conscious choice. See the challenge not as a punishment, but as an invitation to grow. In the end, how you perceive your difficulties defines their impact on your life. Now I ask you, what can you learn from the challenges you're facing today? How can you change your perspective to see the hidden value in adversity? We've seen how the way we perceive adversity shapes its impact on us, but if perspective is fundamental to overcoming challenges, there's one more step that goes even further: acceptance as an act of power. Acceptance is often misunderstood as weakness. Many believe that accepting a difficult situation means giving up or settling. But the truth couldn't be further from that. Acceptance, at its core, is one of the greatest expressions of personal power we can cultivate. Lao Tzu, the Taoist philosopher, once said, "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." What he teaches here is that true strength comes from within. It's not about trying to dominate the world around us, but learning to master our emotions and expectations. Accepting reality isn't surrender. On the contrary, it's an act of courage. It's looking at circumstances exactly as they are, without filters, without denial, and choosing to adapt, learn, and grow. Acceptance is a conscious decision not to waste energy on battles that cannot be won, and to focus instead on what can be done to transform the situation or, at the very least, change the way you see it. Think about it. How many times have you been trapped in frustration because things didn't go the way you imagined? The time and energy you spent resisting could have been used to find solutions, or simply to stay at peace. Acceptance frees you from this cycle of suffering. It creates space for calm, creativity, and new possibilities. Acceptance means taking control of yourself. It's not about letting chaos dominate you. It's about choosing how you will navigate through it. And in doing so, you become stronger, True strength doesn't lie in controlling circumstances. It lies in controlling how you respond to them. This inner strength allows you to move forward even in the face of the greatest adversity. And it's not something that happens all at once. Acceptance is a continuous process, a daily practice of choosing peace over resistance, adaptation over denial. When you accept what you cannot change, you unlock a new kind of power, the power to evolve and transform. No matter what happens, you know you can always rely on yourself. And that is the greatest victory anyone can achieve, mastery over your own mind and heart. So now, I ask you, what do you need to accept today to free yourself from resistance and tap into this inner strength? How would your life change if instead of fighting reality, you embraced it and transformed it? Remember, acceptance isn't giving in. Acceptance is taking control over the one thing that truly matters, yourself. Now that we understand that accepting reality is an act of power, we've arrived at the most important point in this journey. Accept, adjust, and grow. This is the true path to facing adversity. Life isn't about avoiding chaos, it's about transforming the mess into something meaningful, because in the end, chaos isn't the finish line, it's the start of something greater. Let's now wrap up this conversation by understanding how chaos can be a unique opportunity for transformation. If chaos is inevitable and control is an illusion, the final question is, how can we use it to our advantage? Murphy's Law, which often makes us roll our eyes in frustration, actually offers a valuable lesson. Adversities aren't just obstacles, they're opportunities in disguise. Every time something doesn't go as planned, you have a choice. You can see the situation as a failure and sink into frustration, or you can adjust your course and start again. True transformation happens when we stop fighting chaos and start learning from it. Think about the most challenging moments of your life, that job you lost, the relationship that didn't work out, the disappointments that left you feeling lost. Now looking back, weren't those experiences the ones that made you stronger? Didn't they force you to see the world differently and discover a braver, more resilient version of yourself? Chaos is the soil where great changes grow, and no matter how messy things seem now, order and beauty are waiting to emerge. As Murphy's Law says, if anything can go wrong, it will. But that doesn't mean it's the end of the road. In fact, it's just the beginning. The key is to adjust your sails instead of cursing the wind. Life will never be fully predictable or controllable, but you can choose how you navigate it. Every mistake is an invitation to restart with greater wisdom. Every failure is a chance to change direction and explore new paths you never would have considered if everything had gone as planned. Embracing chaos means embracing the possibility of the unexpected, and it's precisely in that openness that life surprises us. When we stop resisting and start flowing, we find harmony even in the toughest situations and discover strengths we never knew we had. Life isn't a fixed script. It's a dance between control and uncertainty, between planning and improvisation. And instead of fearing that dance, we can join it. We can see every stumble as a new step and every unexpected turn as an opportunity for growth. So the next time everything seems to go wrong, remember, chaos isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It's shaping you, challenging you, and preparing you for something bigger. Because in the end, it's not about avoiding problems, but about who you become while facing them. And here's the most beautiful part. What once seemed like the end can be the beginning of something incredible. Chaos may disrupt your plans, but it can also open doors you never knew existed. It all depends on how you choose to respond. So now I ask you, how can you turn chaos into an opportunity today? What can you do to stop resisting and adjust your sails instead? Because the truth is this, chaos is just the beginning. What you do next defines the rest of your journey. Now that you've come this far, how about taking the next step? If this video inspired you in any way, leave a like, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and comment "transformation" below. It makes all the difference in helping this content reach more people. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey together. Every week, I share reflections and insights to help you navigate life with more ease, wisdom, and purpose. Let's keep moving forward, adjusting our sails, and finding harmony, even in the storms. So, are you ready to turn chaos into an opportunity? Come with me because the best is yet to come.